There are nights, strange nights, where the room is silent, but your mind sounds like a war. And you lie there, staring at the ceiling like it owes you answers. You replay everything. Every humiliation, every time you were abandoned, every promise that sounded pure and ended in pain. You replay it again and again and again, until your chest gets heavy, your throat gets tight, and your thoughts, they don't even sound like your own anymore. And still, morning comes. Isn't that cruel? The world keeps moving as if you didn't spend the night trying not to fall apart. People see the body. They don't see the battle. They don't see how many times you had to convince yourself to stay steady, to stay decent, to stay alive inside your faith, inside your patience, inside what's left of your heart. And when you feel broken, you start asking dangerous questions. What if I never heal? What if this sadness is all I am now? What if I've already lost too much? But listen to me. Broken does not mean finished. It means something in you has been under too much weight for too long. And maybe, just maybe, the reason this hurts so deeply is because there is still something in you worth saving. Some wounds don't bleed where people can see them. They bleed in silence, in the way your smile got smaller, in the way your laugh became shorter, in the way you started saying, "It's okay," to things that were never okay. And maybe that's what hurts the most. Not that life was cruel once, but that it kept being cruel until your heart stopped reacting the same way. You used to feel things so deeply. You used to hope. You used to wait for better days like they were actually on their way. Now you just sit with the weight of it. That heavy, nameless sadness that sits in your chest like a stone, that follows you into sleep, that wakes up before you do. And no one really notices. They hear your words, but they don't hear the exhaustion behind them. They see your face, but they don't see the nights your eyes stayed open in the dark, staring, thinking, remembering things you wish had never happened. Sometimes it isn't one tragedy. Sometimes it's just too many disappointments in a row. Too many times you stayed kind when you were falling apart. Too many times you swallowed the pain so nobody would feel uncomfortable around you. And little by little, you became quieter, softer, further away from yourself. It is a terrible thing to miss the person you were while still living inside their body. To remember how light your spirit once felt and feel nothing now but the slow ache of being tired in places no sleep can fix. There are moments, small ones, when it all comes back for no reason at all. A smell, a song, a passing look on someone's face, and suddenly your chest remembers everything your mouth never said. That is the strange part of pain. Even when you bury it, even when you act normal, even when you force your hands to keep working and your feet to keep moving, it waits. It waits in the corners of your mind like a shadow that never really leaves. And then one quiet moment, one weak moment, and it opens the door again. All the old heaviness returns. Not loud, not dramatic, just deep. Deep enough to make everything feel far away. Food loses its taste. Conversations become noise. Even kindness feels difficult to trust. You start sitting with people while feeling completely alone. You start answering with half a voice, half a heart, half a soul. And the worst thing is, you know how to hide it now. Too well. You know exactly when to nod, when to smile, when to say, it's nothing, when to look away before your eyes say too much. So they leave you alone with it. Not because they are always cruel, but because pain that stays quiet is easy for the world to ignore. And some nights, you don't even cry. You just feel empty. Too empty to fight it. Too tired to explain it. Too worn down to even hate what happened. You just lie there with that hollow feeling, like something precious was taken from you, and nothing that came after ever truly filled the space. And maybe that is why it hurts so much. Because a part of you still remembers what peace felt like, what innocence felt like, what it meant to wake up without dread sitting in your chest. Now every day feels heavier than it should. Not impossible, just heavy. Heavy in a way no one sees but you carry every hour. And when the sadness stays long enough, it changes the way you see everything. Not just people, not just memories, everything. Morning does not feel like a beginning anymore. It feels like another weight placed gently on your shoulders before you have even spoken a word. And night is worse. Because night does not distract you. It does not lie to you. It sits with you in the dark and lets every unfinished feeling crawl back into your chest. That is when you remember how many things you never healed from. How many times you forgave without ever being comforted. How many times you stayed soft in places that turned softness into suffering. You start to feel ashamed of your own tenderness. Ashamed that you cared so much. Ashamed that you believed. Ashamed that your heart kept opening even after life kept teaching it fear. And little by little, you stop expecting warmth. Not because you became cold, but because disappointment has a way of making hope feel dangerous. So you become careful, quiet, measured. You think before every word. You hide before anyone asks. You keep your pain folded inside you like a letter no one was meant to read. And sometimes the tears do come, but they come so late, so quietly, that even they feel tired. Not loud, not dramatic, just a slow breaking, like something fragile inside you, finally admitting it cannot hold itself together forever. That kind of sadness is different. It is not a storm, it is not fire. It is the absence of light in places that once felt alive. It is looking at things you used to love and feeling nothing move inside you. It is hearing your own name and feeling far away from the person it belongs to. And that distance from yourself, may be one of the loneliest pains of all. Because how do you explain that you did not disappear all at once? You faded in pieces, in quiet disappointments, in private grief, in the 1,000 small moments where your heart needed gentleness and found none. And after a while, you stop talking about it. Not because it stopped hurting, not because you understood it, not because you made peace with it. No, you stopped talking because repeating the pain does not make it lighter anymore. It just makes it echo. So you keep it inside, deep inside, in the places where nobody looks. And that silence becomes its own kind of prison. You walk around carrying entire conversations you never had, entire cries you never let out, entire versions of yourself that died quietly without anyone noticing. And sometimes, what breaks you is not what happened. It is what happened and the fact that life kept going as if it was nothing. The sun still rose. People still laughed. Phones still rang. Days still passed. And there you were, trying to understand how the world could move so normally while something inside you had fallen to the ground. That kind of pain makes you feel unreal, like your body is present, but your spirit is somewhere else, still kneeling in the moment that hurt you most, still there, still hearing it, still seeing it, still feeling that cold, sinking disbelief that changed the shape of your heart. And maybe people think time fixes everything. Time does not always fix. Sometimes time just teaches you how to suffer more quietly, how to make the sadness look neat, how to answer without opening up, how to sit in a room full of people and hide the fact that your chest feels unbearably heavy, how to keep going when nothing inside you feels ready to move. That is the exhaustion no one sees. Not physical exhaustion, not the kind sleep can solve. It is the exhaustion of carrying memories that still sting, of forcing calm over chaos, of acting normal while your soul feels bruised. And some days it becomes so heavy you do not even know whether you want to cry, sleep, disappear into silence, or just sit there and let the sadness breathe through you. Because fighting it all the time, that gets tiring too. So you sit with it, quietly, helplessly, like someone sitting beside ruins that used to be home. And the cruelest part, the part people almost never understand, is that sadness like this does not always look dramatic. It does not always fall to its knees. It does not always scream. It does not always break furniture or slam doors or beg for attention. Sometimes it just sits there, quiet, patient, heavy, like rain trapped inside a house, like a winter that moved into your chest and decided not to leave. And because it is quiet, people underestimate it. They think pain must be loud to be real. They think if you are still functioning, still answering, still showing up, then maybe it cannot be that bad. But they do not see how much effort it takes to do simple things with a wounded heart. They do not see how much strength it takes to hold your face together when your thoughts are falling apart. How much control it takes to keep your voice steady when grief keeps climbing into your throat. There are mornings when even getting up feels like betrayal, because the bed knows your sadness. The silence knows your sadness. The dim light in the room knows exactly how empty you feel. And still, you pull yourself up. You wash your face. You say a few words. You move through the day like someone carrying glass inside their ribs, trying not to shatter in public. That kind of living, it leaves marks. Not always on the skin, not where people can point and say, "Ah, there it is. That is where life hurt you." No, these marks live deeper. In the way your trust became hesitant, in the way your joy became cautious, in the way you started expecting loss even in beautiful moments. You begin to ruin peace for yourself before life even has the chance. Because pain taught you to prepare, to brace, to expect the door to close, to expect the warmth to leave, to expect that what is given gently can still be taken cruelly. And when a heart lives like that for too long, it becomes tired in a sacred way. Not weak, not worthless, just tired. Tired of hoping with caution, tired of remembering without warning, tired of being triggered by little things and pretending nothing happened. Tired of carrying an old ache through new days that never asked for it, but somehow still receive it. And every now and then, without permission, the sadness deepens. You feel it in your breathing, in the slowness of your hands, in the way the world starts looking dull again. Colors lose something, voices lose something. Even your own reflection seems like it belongs to somebody who has suffered quietly for far too long. And maybe that is what hurts so much. Not only that you were hurt, but that you had to become your own witness, your own comfort, your own hiding place, your own wall, your own listener on nights when there was no one to hear the cracking inside you. That does something to a person. It changes the temperature of their spirit. It changes how they enter rooms, how they receive kindness, how they answer love, how they survive silence. And some part of you, some fragile, aching part, keeps looking back at the version of you that had lighter eyes, softer thoughts, easier sleep, and mourning him like he was someone you buried without a funeral. grief like that, the quiet kind, does not leave in a straight line. It circles. It returns. It waits for weak hours, for tired evenings, for those thin, fragile moments when your heart is too worn down to defend itself. And then suddenly, something small touches the wound again. A familiar street, a certain silence, a look in somebody's eyes that reminds you of something you prayed you had already outlived. And there it is, that ache, not new, not loud, just old and deep and patient. It settles in your chest like it remembers the way in, like sorrow has its own key to the parts of you that never fully healed. And you feel foolish for a second. Foolish because you thought you were doing better, because you thought enough time had passed, because you thought maybe the wound had finally closed. But pain can close on the outside and still remain open underneath. That is what nobody teaches you. Some hurts do not vanish. They become part of the weather inside you. Sometimes calm, sometimes storm. Sometimes just a gray heaviness stretching across everything you touch. And when the heaviness returns, you start moving slower. Not because you are lazy, not because you are weak, but because your soul is carrying something your body has no language for. You answer late, you stare longer, you go quiet in the middle of thoughts. Even simple things begin to feel far away. The joy in music, the comfort in conversation, the little sparks that used to make a day feel softer. It is frightening how pain can steal small beauties first. Not all at once, no. That would almost be easier to understand. It steals them slowly. A little appetite, a little rest, a little trust, a little laughter. Until one day, you are sitting there with your hands still, your thoughts heavy, and you realize you have been surviving for so long, you barely remember what living felt like. And that realization, that quiet, merciless realization, can hollow a person out. Because now, it is not only the original pain, now it is the pain and the distance it created between you and the person you once were. The old you felt closer to sunlight, closer to ease, closer to simple things. This you, this tired, grieving version, measures peace carefully, touches happiness carefully, trusts softness carefully, as if everything beautiful might disappear the moment you relax around it. So even in calm moments, there is tension. Even in silence, there is noise. Even in company, there is loneliness. And that loneliness, that deep, private loneliness, is not always the absence of people. Sometimes it is the absence of being understood. The absence of someone noticing that your eyes look tired in a deeper way, that your voice has been carrying weight, that your smiles end too quickly, that your soul has been walking barefoot through sharp things for a very long time. But the world is often busy, busy with noise, busy with appearances, busy with easy conversations that never touch the places where real suffering lives. So you learn to carry your sorrow with manners, with restraint, with a straight face, with careful words. And that is a tragedy of its own. To hurt deeply and still feel the need to make your pain look polite. To break quietly so no one feels burdened. To fall apart inwardly while outwardly remaining gentle enough for everyone else's comfort. That kind of sadness does not only wound the heart, it teaches the heart to apologize for having wounds at all. And after enough of that, after enough quiet apologizing for your own pain, you begin to disappear in ways other people do not notice at first. Not physically, not all at once, but in presence, in warmth, in spontaneity, in the soft, unguarded parts of you that used to come forward without fear. Now everything hesitates. Every feeling knocks first. Every word slows down before leaving your mouth. Every bit of hope stands at the door of your heart like it is asking permission to enter a place that has become unfamiliar even to itself. And sometimes you hate that. You hate how careful you have become, how distant, how hard it is now to simply relax into a moment without your mind preparing for its ending. That is what pain does when it stays too long. It teaches you to flinch before life even touches you. It teaches you to scan every kindness for hidden loss, every calm day for the shadow of what might ruin it, every loving word for the possibility that it could one day turn cold. And that constant bracing, that invisible tension, it drains something from you. Not just energy, something gentler than that. Wonder, ease, the ability to feel safe without asking 100 silent questions first. You start envying simple people, people who laugh without checking the room, people who sleep without rehearsing old wounds, people who hear silence and do not immediately fill it with memory. What a strange sorrow that is, to look at ordinary peace as if it were some distant country you once belonged to but can no longer enter. And yet, you keep going. Not beautifully, not heroically, not with some shining strength that makes the pain look noble. No, you keep going in the tired way, the quiet way, the way people almost never admire, because it is not dramatic enough to be called bravery. But it is. It is bravery to carry heaviness without letting it poison your principles, to be wounded without becoming cruel, to feel abandoned in certain places and still refuse to abandon what is decent inside you. That costs something. People speak of survival as if it were a clean thing, as if endurance were always sharp and powerful and inspiring. But sometimes survival is ugly. Sometimes it looks like confusion, like emotional numbness, like praying with a tired heart, like lying awake not even knowing what words to use anymore, only knowing that your chest feels full and your spirit feels dim. Sometimes survival is just not giving in to the darker version of yourself that pain keeps trying to build. And maybe nobody claps for that. maybe nobody sees it. Maybe nobody understands how many battles had to stay inside your mouth so that your hands, your choices, your life would remain clean. But heaven sees, and your soul knows. Your soul knows how many times you stood at the edge of saying something bitter, doing something reckless, becoming something hard, and did not. Even while hurting, even while tired, even while feeling like the world had taken too much from you. That restraint, that private restraint, is one of the loneliest forms of dignity. Because no one congratulates you for the damage you chose not to cause. No one sees the words you swallowed in pain, the impulses you buried, the resentment you wrestled with in silence. They only see that you became quieter, but they do not know what your quiet cost you. They do not know that some nights you sat with your own darkness like a man sitting beside a wild animal, trying to keep it calm with nothing but faith, restraint, and a trembling voice. They do not know how much of your softness survived by choice, by effort, by fear of losing what still made you worthy in the sight of God. And that is another pain people rarely speak about. And when a soul begins to feel old like that, it stops asking for grand miracles. It stops dreaming in bright colors, stops expecting sudden rescue, stops believing that one good morning will come and erase the deep, quiet damage of many dark nights. No, it becomes smaller in its wishes. Not because it has no value, not because it has no depth, but because pain has taught it how dangerous hope can feel when the heart has already survived too many collapses. So instead of asking for joy, it asks for relief. Instead of asking to be understood completely, it asks not to be wounded again. Instead of asking life to become beautiful, it asks for one quiet hour without heaviness pressing on its ribs. And maybe that is one of the saddest transformations. When a person once capable of so much warmth, so much trust, so much innocent reaching, becomes someone who only asks the day to hurt less than the one before. That kind of sadness changes the language inside you. You speak less, expect less, reveal less. You start protecting even your tenderness from the world, because tenderness becomes sacred once you learn how easily it can be stepped on, how easily it can be mocked, ignored, mishandled, or returned to you as if it were weakness. So you hide your softer parts, not to deceive, not to manipulate, to preserve what little remains unbroken inside you. And there are nights, heavy, private nights, when you can feel the split inside yourself. One part of you still wants softness, still wants mercy, still wants to believe that gentleness has a place in this life. And the other part, the tired part, the bruised part, the disappointed, overburdened part, wants to close every door, wants distance, wants numbness, wants a silence so complete that nothing can reach in and touch the tender wounds again. That inner conflict is exhausting. To want love and fear it. To want peace and mistrust it. To want closeness and feel your chest tighten the moment it comes near. Because pain leaves echoes. Even after the moment passes, the echoes remain. In your body, in your reactions, in the way your heart learned to anticipate loss before loss even arrived. So now, even gentle things can frighten you, not because they are harmful, but because they awaken longing. And longing for a hurt soul can be dangerous. Longing reminds you of what you miss, of what you lacked, of what you reached for with empty hands, of what you begged for silently while trying to look composed. And when longing meets memory, the sadness deepens. You start remembering not only what happened, but what should have happened and never did. The comfort that did not come, the apology that never arrived, the hand that was not there, the words your heart needed and waited for until waiting itself became humiliation. There is grief in that too, a very private grief. The grief of not only being hurt, but not being held afterward. The grief of carrying pain that should have been shared, yet became a lonely duty between you and God. And perhaps that is why some sorrow feels so sacred, because no human being fully witnessed it. Only heaven did. Only heaven saw how your heart bent without announcing it, how your eyes dimmed little by little, how your prayers changed tone, how your patience stretched thin and still did not snap into injustice. Only heaven saw the nights you swallowed words, the mornings you wore calm over chaos, the moments you nearly collapsed inwardly, yet still chose restraint, still chose decency, still chose not to become cruel. And maybe that hiddenness makes the pain heavier, but it also makes it known in a place beyond people, a place beyond applause, beyond explanation, beyond being understood by the crowd. And when a soul begins to feel old like that, it does not always speak in words. Sometimes it speaks in hesitation, in delayed replies, in the way your hand rests on the door for a second longer than it used to, in the way you sit down and feel tired before anything even begins. That is the kind of sadness people misread. They call it distance, mood, personality, a phase. But they do not know that some people are not withdrawing because they think too highly of themselves. They are withdrawing because too much inside them feels fragile. Fragile in a hidden way, not weak, just worn thin. Like cloth rubbed against sorrow for too many years. And so you protect what remains. Your energy, your softness, your attention, your trust. You become selective not because you stopped caring, but because caring became expensive. Every disappointment costs more now. Every cold tone lingers longer. Every small rejection touches old bruises underneath it. That is why even little things can feel strangely heavy. A sentence said carelessly, a silence at the wrong time, a kindness you hoped for that never arrived. To others, those things pass quickly. To you, they join a long line of absences already waiting inside your chest. And the chest remembers. It remembers every time you needed gentleness and had to survive without it. Every time you looked for understanding and found only noise. Every time your heart reached outward and came back emptier. So now, even when nothing terrible is happening, there is still that quiet tension, that readiness for pain, that inner flinch, that almost invisible sorrow standing in the background of ordinary life. And sometimes you hate yourself for it. Not because you chose it, not because it is fair, but because you miss being simple. You miss reacting like an uninjured person. You miss peace that did not need defending. You miss the version of you that could hear silence without expecting memory, could feel affection without fearing loss, could rest without guilt or dread creeping in behind it. And that missing of your former self is its own private grief, a very lonely one, because no one attends that funeral. No one gathers around to mourn the softness you lost, the innocence that thinned out, the ease that slowly bled away under pressures nobody fully saw. So you mourn it quietly, in the pauses between tasks, in the stillness after conversations, in those late hours when your face goes blank and your heart feels too full to name. And maybe that is why your sadness feels so deep, because it is not one wound, it is layers, years, echoes. It is pain and memory and fatigue and the burden of staying decent while carrying all of it. It is the ache of being asked to continue gently through a life that has not always handled you gently. And still, there you are, quieter than before, heavier than before, more difficult to reach perhaps, but still trying not to become ugly inside. Still trying not to let sorrow rewrite your character. Still trying not to let bitterness sit where faith should sit. Still trying, even when your strength feels thin and your heart feels bruised in places language cannot touch. That effort, that hidden effort, is exhausting beyond description. But it is also sacred, because some of the holiest battles make no sound at all. And maybe that is why the world feels so strange to you now. Because people keep speaking as if healing were neat, as if patience were easy, as if pain, once hidden well enough, somehow stops being pain. But hidden things do not disappear. They deepen, they sink, they settle into the bones of your reactions, the shape of your silence, the tiredness behind your eyes. And after enough years of that, even tenderness can start to hurt. Not because tenderness is cruel, but because it reminds you of how long you lived without it. A soft voice can undo you. A small mercy can undo you. A hand that does not demand anything can make your chest feel suddenly heavy for reasons you cannot explain. Because the starving parts of the heart remember. They always remember. They remember every time they waited too long for kindness. Every time they stood at the window of hope and watched it close quietly. Every time they tried to be easy to love and still ended up alone with their ache. So when gentleness appears, you do not always know how to receive it. You doubt it. You study it. You hold it carefully like a fragile thing that may vanish the moment you trust its warmth. That is what old sadness does. It teaches caution, even in beautiful places. And then people wonder why you hesitate, why you pull back, why your smile arrives slowly and leaves so quickly. They do not understand that your heart has become a room full of sacred wreckage. Not garbage, not emptiness. Wreckage. Pieces of prayers whispered in exhaustion. Pieces of trust that bent too far. Pieces of nights that asked more from you than any night should ask. Pieces of yourself you never got to bury properly. So of course you move differently now. Of course your laughter is rarer. Of course your calm is complicated. Of course your stillness contains more history than anyone suspects. There are entire storms inside you that never reached your mouth. Entire griefs that learned to kneel quietly so the rest of your life could continue looking normal. And sometimes that normal-looking survival is what hurts the most, because it makes your suffering invisible. It turns your pain into something efficient, polite, manageable to others, while inside you are carrying an ache that has outlived explanations. You stop even trying to describe it. How could you? How do you explain a sadness that is no longer tied to one moment, one loss, one face? It has spread wider than that now, into your sleep, into your posture, into your patience, into the way your soul goes quiet when the world becomes too loud. It is everywhere, and yet nowhere obvious. That is why some days you feel like crying without knowing what to point to, like mourning without knowing what to name, like apologizing without knowing what for. Because grief that stays too long stops asking permission. It becomes atmosphere. It becomes the air through which your thoughts move, the dimness through which your hours pass, the quiet pressure behind your words. And still, you try to remain worthy. You try to keep your heart from hardening. You try to keep your tongue from injustice. You try to keep your hands clean, your intentions honest, your soul facing God, even when it feels tired, even when it feels dim, even when it feels too bruised to sing with joy the way it once did. That trying, that trembling, hidden trying is heavier than people know. Because there is a difference, a painful difference, between being shattered by suffering and being reshaped by it. The first wound is obvious. It burns. It shakes you. It makes the whole world feel unreal. But the second happens quietly. It happens in the months after, in the way you stop reaching as quickly, in the way your joy arrives with caution, in the way your heart begins to ask permission before it feels anything deeply again. That is when you realize the pain did not just visit you, it stayed long enough to rearrange the furniture inside. And now, even when nothing is wrong, something in you still sits upright, still listening, still prepared for the sound of loss. That is not drama. That is fatigue. That is memory. That is the body learning sorrow too well. And maybe that is why your heart feels so hard to carry now. Not because it is empty, because it is crowded. Crowded with unfinished feelings, with prayers said through clenched pain, with questions that receive no answer except more waiting, more silence, more endurance. And endurance, real endurance, does not always look noble while you are inside it. Sometimes it looks confused. Sometimes it looks numb. Sometimes it looks like sitting still for too long, staring at nothing, trying to gather enough strength for the next simple task. That is the part no one writes songs about. The ordinary heaviness, the invisible dragging, the way grief can make a cup feel heavier, a room feel colder, a morning feel too wide to cross. And still, you cross it. With a tired face, with a careful mouth, with a soul that has learned how to limp inwardly while keeping its posture straight. That takes something sacred. It takes restraint. It takes sincerity. It takes a kind of private courage that receives no applause because most people never witness it. They only see the surface. They do not see how much of your sadness has become discipline, how much of your silence is self-control, how much of your distance comes from trying not to spill pain onto people who could never hold it properly. So you hold it yourself, again and again and again. Not because you were made of stone, but because your heart became used to surviving without being carried. And there is a loneliness in that which cuts deeper with time. To be the one who must steady yourself, to be the one who must calm your own storms, to be the one who whispers patience to your own chest when the night grows heavy and no human voice reaches where you hurt. That kind of loneliness does not make a person weak, but it does make him quiet. Quieter in joy, quieter in pain, quieter even in hope. Because hope now feels expensive. It asks too much vulnerability, too much openness, too much trust in outcomes you no longer feel certain about. So you ration it, carefully, like a wounded man protecting the last clean cloth he has left. And maybe people call that pessimism, but it is not always pessimism. Sometimes it is just a heart trying to avoid another burial inside itself. Another version of peace lost. Another softness thinned out. Another innocent expectation laid down in silence. So when they look at you now and say you changed, They are right. You did change. Not because suffering made you less, because suffering asked more from you than most people will ever understand. It asked for patience when all you wanted was relief. It asked for decency when bitterness would have been easier. It asked for trust in God when your chest felt too heavy to even understand your own tears. And somehow, through all that inward wreckage, you are still trying to remain someone your Lord would not be displeased with.